No, you're going to do that. Welcome to episode number 20 of the Strictly Business Podcast. Not here.
Welcome to the Strictly Business Podcast.
I am not a hero, and I am not a hero, and I am not your one.
Cut. Whoa. Well, you're the only one at the moment that knows how to do that, right? Normally you tell... Anyway, we're like a married couple. Normally you tell me to calm down.
Oh, no, we got to bring the energy up.
Normally I do this.
Fucking hungry too.
Yeah, me too.
It's going to be good though because I'm hungry.
Because you're hungry.
I want to fucking after. No, but if I was full of food right now, I'd be fucking not.
You want to sleep on my fucking amazing bed, and you're not going to touch it. No one's going to touch my bed.
Oh, you tell us when you're ready, bro.
Oh no, my stomach is growing.
Started 40 seconds back.
Okay, we're ready. All right, go.
Welcome to episode number 20 of the Strictly Business Podcast. And today, it's a very special episode. I have with me my man, Brisbane's finest number 1 jeweler, Ashley Portas. Thank you so much for joining me, mate.
Thank you for having me, Andrew.
And I'm not sure why I'm screaming, but we'll move forward. Mate, buddy, you and I have had so many amazing conversations that I really wanted to capture our relationship, how in terms of working with Amiga Digital, but also to also show people exactly how far, how deep we go into in terms of delivering a service. And you've worked with other SEOs, so you've got a bit of feedback in regards to that. But I definitely want to get to that. But first, I want to talk about you. And you and I have this little kinship where we sort of started. We grew up in humble beginnings.
Very much
We've
so.
talked about some funny stories. We trade some stories. I'd love to trade them again. What was it like? Tell us a little bit about you and growing up in where you grew up, and what led you to start a business, and in particular DIAMONDPORT.
Oh, that's a big question. But I guess the first thing that comes to mind, like I grew up in Ipswich. My parents were abattoir workers. My dad was a butcher by trade, and my mum worked at the abattoir as well. And we had growing up, we had a great life. My parents did very well for themselves, even on meager incomes. They were very frugal, and they provided for us quite well. We're never without. Mum made all my clothes to the age I was 12, so that's how frugal Mum was until I wanted like Adidas and Nike. But then we went and got those from the markets, probably all fake stuff. But anyway, I didn't know that at the time. But we used to always go camping every year to Brumba Dam, which is up towards Gympie, north of Brisbane. And there was this one family, there's this great local business up in, it's probably a national business now, called TJM. And so the family from that, the people that own that business and their whole extended family would come at the same time every year as we did. And me and my brother were inspired by this family because they had all the greatest push bikes, all the greatest cars, the greatest looking boats out of everyone. And they just seemed to have a really good time, and the family brought the whole family along. And I didn't know this at the time, that somebody probably was providing for them all. But all I knew is they looked like they were having a good time. The whole family was together. And with my family, we just went there with our little family. We had a great time, but they looked like they were having an awesome time. They had all the latest gear and the best gear. Jason and I would go back, my twin brother would go back to our home, and we'd play Lego, and we'd always make our little cars to look like their cars, and we'll make our boats like their boats, and our campground to look like theirs. And we always talked about being in business when we grew older because we wanted to have what they had. And to me, in that camping trip, I took away, all those years of camping, I took away, if you're in business, you can have and create a life, a life less ordinary, I like to say. And that's what I wanted. And that's what ultimately drove me to start my own business.
Because when I first started chatting with you, you were actually working with your twin brother, which was a really cool, interesting story. because people came because they wanted to see the twins. And,
Yeah.
and I remember other colleagues of yours saying that it was an attraction in Brisbane
Yes.
to come see the twins. How did that sort of, because I can only imagine working with family would be quite interesting.
Yeah.
And I think it would present its own challenges. I mean, how did you find working
Well,
with
I'd
family?
always wanted to work with Jace. We have such a close relationship, and
You're identical twins.
we're identical twins. And when COVID hit and he was living and working in Sydney, he just, we're quite similar in a way. Like, he made a decision. He's like, I don't want to be stuck here in Sydney. And so he got his family together, shipped them up, and they left pretty quick. And he resigned from his job, and he told me. And I was like, "Whoa, that's wild!" And then so the next day, I rang him and said, "Hey, man, why don't you come work at DIAMONDPORT, and we'll just make it happen." At the time, I didn't know how I was going to pay him because he was making a really good income, and he needed to make that income because his partner didn't work, and he was the main breadwinner. But I made him an offer that was 2/3 of what he was making, and I said, "Well, we'll try to see what can happen." And so he came and helped at DIAMONDPORT, and it was great. Like, he was super motivated. He made a lot of changes to do with production, and he also saw the business from the outside in, and so he helped me see a lot of things that I didn't see. And so that was a really good period in the business. We had a lot of growth when he was there. He helped implement things that we're still using now because of his ability. He's also he's an accountant by trade, and he had a lot of experience in big business, so it was great. But ultimately, we're two alpha males, and we just headbutted, and so we decided not to work together anymore, as we wanted to preserve the relationship of being like we're so close as brothers that we decided to preserve the relationship over working together.
Awesome. And tell us a little bit more about DIAMONDPORT. I mean, from my perspective, it's changed a lot, even in the sort of last 12 to at least 12 to 15 months that we've been working together, and I've seen a lot of change in you.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of change in the team. I've seen a lot of growth. What would you do you want to talk a little bit more about sort of the journey since you started to where you are now?
Journey since I started, or since I started with you?
Well, both.
Okay, well, the journey since I started, so I started originally, it was thanks to my brother. He really pushed me back after I left. I was working for a diamond wholesale business for 4 years. Then I left that business. And I went and did a few other things, tried a few other things. But my brother was like, dude, you got to go back to diamonds because that's what you know. That's what you've learned.
You're a diamond merchant.
I was a diamond merchant. And at the business I worked at, they allowed me to just go full into it, where I learned how to buy, sell. I traded with the suppliers. I paid them in the currency. I bought the diamonds. I sorted the diamonds when they came in, and I shipped them out. So I ran the whole business. So I knew every facet, pardon the pun, every facet of the business. And so when I left, my brother's like, man, you got to go back to that. So in 2013, an opportunity presented itself, early 2013. So I started my own wholesale business. But I did that for a couple of years. But ultimately, what I learned through that is that to be a diamond merchant, you need a lot of money and assets behind you. Because I started that business with $30,000 worth of savings. That's it. I ordered my first parcel of diamonds with $30,000 cash.
And what year was this?
That was in 2013.
Okay.
And then I traded that, sold that, and then I'd buy all the bigger diamonds where the client, the jeweler would pay me up front, which is a bit not really done in the trade. Like most people get the goods on approval and pay 30 days, 60 days later, which I couldn't afford to do that. So I grew that business up to just shy of $1 million turnover, which in wholesale isn't that much. You really need to be doing $3 to $5 million plus because your margins are so slim.
Yeah, sure. But
I saw that and I thought, well, I always had this side business from 2010, which was DIAMONDPORT, just growing there in the background, where I had friends. I started it because I had friends hit me up, make me an engagement ring. So I started DIAMONDPORT. I created accounts with all my suppliers overseas, and I had local trade jewels make the rings for me. But mid 2015, I was like, man, this business diamonds isn't going anywhere. I remember my brother was living in Perth at the time. I rang him. I was laying on the floor. I was having a cry. And he's like, man, what else are you going to do, man? He goes, get up and just get at it. Because he goes, what else are you going to do? You don't have a plan B. You don't have a university education. You don't have anything else to fall back on. He goes, this is it, man. Pull up your socks and go at it. And he probably sent me some motivational videos at the time. It was probably Eric Thomas. Succeed as you want. When you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. I probably watched that 100 or so times. And then I got up and I changed the plaque out front from Map Diamonds to DIAMONDPORT.
Okay.
And then I came back in and I thought, well, now what am I going to do? Because I'm upstairs, how am I going to attract people to come and find me? And somewhere or another, I actually came across this SEO person, Kate Toon, and I got her to write copy for me.
Yep.
And then she started a course called The Recipe for Success. And I did the course, taught myself enough about SEO to be dangerous.
Very dangerous.
And that's how I grew the business. And I started getting Google reviews. And then around the same time, I traveled to Laos and Vietnam, and I used TripAdvisor to find out where to go. Mm. But I also started seeing these Google reviews, but it's kind of random. And you go to TripAdvisor, and why are people giving Google reviews? No one even uses them. But then I remember I went to go get a haircut when I got back, and I thought, oh, well, there's no reviews on TripAdvisor for hairdressers. So I read the Google reviews, and the Google reviews were terrible for this particular establishment. So I didn't go get my haircut from there. But then in that moment, I realized this is going to be a thing. So I started getting Google reviews for DIAMONDPORT as well as doing SEO. And yeah, I grew the business just naturally, organically. And over time I learned, well, this is going to be easy because no one else is really doing it. There's only really one competitor in Brisbane that was doing SEO.
Currently, as it stands, you've got 943 5-star reviews, which is going to be one of the highest.
That's right.
Certainly one of the highest in Brisbane. And the reviews, is just while we touch on this point, what I love a lot about DIAMONDPORT's reviews is the depth of the actual review themselves. Like, people are pouring their heart. It's not just, oh yeah, good job, Ash. It's like a real deep, meaningful, heartfelt experience, and we're going to get into that. But that's what's very, for me, what stands out as a sign of a business that I definitely want to be a part of. So, I mean, kudos, man, the whole team, on providing Google probably should start looking at the depth of reviews, not just the number, because you can't fake them. And I encourage everyone to go and look at these reviews on DIAMONDPORT. They're astonishing. Sorry, continue.
Thank you. Yeah, so, good.
They're amazing, man. They were the real deal.
So I just started driving the business from getting Google. I just do a good job for someone, get a Google review. Do a good job, get a Google review. And then whilst doing SEO, and then, my SEO, I couldn't really do it anymore because I was doing more of the business. So then I knew enough to hire contractors to do it. But yeah, I've been through many agencies because you realize just the quality of work and what they do. They charge you a lot, but don't really do a lot or give a lot. And also, a lot of the people that you talk to aren't the actual ones doing the work, and they don't actually fully understand what the people doing the work is. So there's real lack of understanding and communication. So therefore, I just struggled with agencies year after year, and you work with them for a bit, and then you'd realize they're not doing something really simple. Because I'd go and do the course and rehash it. And actually, probably when I had the best results, I had this lady working for me, Joanne, and she was my assistant, but I actually had her do the SEO course with Kate Toon. And then she started doing my SEO internally. And then we grew exponentially that year just from her doing our SEO. And basically all she was doing was researching good topics for blog posts, and then we were doing them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that simple. So then I thought, well, why am I paying all these agencies? But then she left, and then I ended up hiring another agency, and not having great results there either. And then I met you, and we've had great growth since this moment.
It was just a cold email outreach, really. So from the point of, is that really what led up? Was that sort of the point to where you led up with me? Was sort of, how was the business currently tracking up?
It was going good.
Just
Like
before you.
the agency before I met you actually got me to push harder on Google Ads, and I'd always been apprehensive about it.
Yeah.
But that probably in that year we had some of our biggest exponential growth from doing Google Ads, which at the time I probably didn't appreciate, but now I do appreciate that they were actually probably doing a better job on Google Ads than they were doing on my organic SEO. And then I dropped the ball on the ads, and I've used a few agencies, but recently I'm using an independent contractor that was referred by you, and I think we're going to have great results with you and her working really closely together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think now we are sort of assembling the dream team. And to push forward to bigger and better goals.
So just to wrap that up, I think from where I came in business to where I've got to now has been largely based on getting great Google reviews and having great content on my site and having a technically sound website for SEO.
And I think you've got a great product.
Oh, well, yeah. Yes. Well, my idea about getting the Google reviews was always to do a great product and always improving our product, always improving our service, always improving our offering. That's just a given.
Yeah.
But you can't sell a secret. And the only way people know about you is through when they go to search and they try to find a ring, you got to come up number one. And that was my driver to grow the business. Well, one, you had to do a great product, but if no one knew about you, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest driver.
You just become Brisbane's best kept secret.
Yeah, and you don't want to be Brisbane's best kept secret.
No, absolutely. That's awesome, buddy. So this is going to be a question that could be working out awkwardly for me. How's the last 12 months been panning out? What are some of the big? What would be some of the big things that you've looked back and we celebrated? Obviously, we've had some good rankings in engagement rings and the wedding rings.
I think the best thing we did, when you came on board, the best thing we did was we did, and you worked closely with Sarah on the. What did we do with all the URLs? We changed the URL structure. That was our biggest. That was a game changer. Yeah. So basically, because it was a mess.
Yeah, exactly. And it still needs a bit of work, but it's definitely a lot better than where it was. So we would fundamentally build these new pages based upon search volume. So I've been involved in the jewelry industry, and I think that was one of the things that led you to wanting to work with me is because I had 10 years experience. So I kind of knew.
And just on that, when you emailed me, I'd been watching the company you worked for a decade, and I effectively did build my business based on what they were doing because I was watching them going, well, I've got to create Brisbane's version of that business.
And you've done that in your own way.
Yeah, I just watched them and I knew you search engagement ring Sydney or engagement ring, they'll come up number one on Google. And I thought, well, that's amazing. So I tried to emulate that. And then when I got the email from you and you worked for them for a decade, straight away, mate, I called you that afternoon within 30 minutes of receiving the email.
Yeah. And a very different company. But what I've figured out with jewelry in terms of the SEO and the keyword and the search volumes, there's probably maybe 50 to 60 keywords within the jewelry niche that don't change. And a lot of that is around the cuts and the clarities. And do I get a 1 carat versus 2 carat diamond? What's the price of a 1 carat? What's the price of a 2 carat? A pear cut, a princess cut, the yellow gold, the rose gold. There is a fundamental consistency in reshaping and rebuilding the information architecture we've got, right? And that was based upon a lot of research, but it's based upon also the industry and how it sort of works. And so I'm like, the first big problem that I figured out with DIAMONDPORT is it's not easy to find a yellow gold engagement ring.
Yes.
And a lot of people are typing into Google yellow gold engagement ring. So it's obviously going to match the search volume. So fundamentally, we want to get the major keywords that are, let's say, the top 60% that don't change in the industry.
Yeah.
And we've still got a lot of work to do on that. But that is, as I mentioned to you in our initial calls, is laying the groundwork. So a lot of our traffic growth that we have experienced in the first 12 months was rebuilding and reshaping that. And you already had a very good basis, a very good profile of links pointing to DIAMONDPORT because you did that excellent how much should you spend on an engagement ring article, and you did the surveys and you did the data. and you've got banks linking to us, and you've got insurance companies linking to us, and those links you just can't go out and get. You got them because you're.
I was actually working directly with a consultant that actually helped do all that. I'm going to give her a shout out. Her name was Belinda Irvine. That was her idea, and she did all that work with us.
And it was great.
It was amazing.
Yeah. And I always tell, in terms of SEO, if you want success, there needs to be the long term. There needs to be natural link magnets. You need to give people a reason to talk about your brand and to want to link to it. So the big thing, and this is what we've been talking about, even when we were checking into this fine institution here, about the experience and the storytelling and how important that is to capture. Because one thing I know about engagement rings, they're everywhere. And I think what customers, and I think as your SEO, I try to even go as deep as I can to understand the customers and understand the people buying the product, so I can give you an extra level of service because of my experience. And I think that's why I'm here, why you hired me. So I think customers are looking, and I think that the ages and the demographics is obviously shifting and changing, and people are shifting and changing. But I find, Ash, that really the big thing that I find is having people are going to connect on different reasons. So some people are going to connect with your story, and I feel like that's a whole separate podcast in and of itself. People are going to connect with you going to the gym. People are going to connect with you driving a Mercedes. They're going to connect with you on different things. But also there's going to be a level, an element where people are going to need to feel like, I know that guy. I know this company. I know what they stand for. Yep. They've got the amazing reviews. You want to be synonymous. Like my mum doesn't say, I want to search for something online. She says, let's Google it. So when something becomes synonymous with the core, you know the brand has landed in the world of the nirvana. Yeah. So for us, diamond, you think DIAMONDPORT, you think diamonds, right? You think engagement rings, and that's where we want to go. But experience and the story is the next big thing that I want to work on with you. So if you want to speak to that, in terms of a question, as I asked you on the couch before, how do we differentiate ourselves from Tiffany? How do we differentiate ourselves? I think I know the answers, but how do we differentiate ourselves from another sort of face-to-face jeweler like a Larson or a Xenox or whoever? How do we uniquely position ourselves to provide the best experience in town and also tapping into the different changing demographics, so there's someone coming in at 20 and someone coming in at 30 and 40.
Well, there's one thing that I was going to, before when we were wrapping on the couch, I was going to discuss, but there's one thing that I know that we do different to every other jeweler. I mean, like they may do this, but I've never heard of anyone doing it. But basically, when you make a sale, when we have a sale, the salesperson always does a handover meeting with the production team. So there's no detail lost or there's no lack of communication. And so what will happen is the next day after a sales day, there'll be like a 9 a.m., 10 a.m. meeting, depends on the production time, but we'll come together as a team and the salesperson hands over and you discuss all the notes that are written down. So they clearly understand what the customer wanted or the size of the diamonds or the diamonds to be used, the exact style, because sometimes I actually stuff up and write the wrong style down. So we go and confirm that the ring that I sold was the correct name that are written on the sheet. No one else stuffs that up, only I would. But we get all that clarified. So therefore we don't have things that go wrong, because what happens at a lot of jewelry stores, like they'll get to the end, they've made it the wrong size, wrong finger size, wrong diamond size, wrong color of gold, because there's poor notes written. So we make sure we write really good notes in the consultation, because we book that, we have a book, a one-to-one booking. So we have time, we write everything down, do the order, and then when it's handed over, we actually sit down with the designer and the head of production, Karis. We write down all the notes on the digital card, because a lot of other businesses don't actually have a digital production board. I implemented that years ago. And those notes are then done. Then it's over to production. And if it's a custom ring, then the designer, once the piece is designed and we've done a render for it, the designer will actually send those designs to the client. And the client's response will go directly back to the designer. So the client is talking directly to the designer. Now, I know most jewelry businesses do not have in-house design. And we want to be a design-led business. So my idea is we have in-house design. So I've just hired my third designer because it's such a big part of businesses. A lot of businesses like me don't even have one in-house designer, okay? So they're talking directly to the designer, and then once they confirm if it's a custom piece, they confirm, yes, that is exactly what I spoke to the salesperson with. Then it gets handed back to the salesperson to commit to the sale, or say if we've taken a design fee for them then to commit to that stone, and then once the deposit's paid, we put the ring into production. And there's another thing we do is communication. So our digital job board will automatically update our clients as the ring's on its journey to production. No one else does that in the trade. Like I don't know anyone else that does custom rings that has an automatic production that emails the clients saying where it is in production. So I mean, that's one thing that we're doing to differentiate ourselves. Another thing that we've Mike that works at DIAMONDPORT.
Shout out to Mike.
Mike is an absolute weapon. He read this book, Unreasonable Hospitality, and he was banging on about it for ages. And so I finally started listening to it, and I haven't finished it though. But I only listened to the first couple of pages, and I was already inspired and making a change. But basically, Unreasonable Hospitality is a book about a great restaurant in New York and the guy that ran it, and how everyone focuses on the food, you know. And my brother used to say it. He actually said it to me first. He said everyone focuses on the burger and not on the process. Whereas at DIAMONDPORT, a big thing that we've always focused on, like we can create great rings, burgers, but what we do is we focus on the process and make the process exceptional, or as always updating it, always making it better. So in the restaurant, basically what they talk about is they went to this awards night for the top 50 restaurants in the world, and they got number 50 on their first trial, and they were so disappointed because I thought they were going to come in the top 30 or 40. And they walked away from that going, well, how can we be number one? And obviously being number one restaurant is dependent on who picks it, and everyone's going to have a different opinion. But they thought, how can we be number one? And how can we just be that? And they thought, well, we could do great food. They all do great food, but we can be unreasonable with the way we deliver that experience. And I've been inspired by that book. And so how we're going to differentiate ourselves is we're going to be unreasonable in the way that we deliver our rings and in the way that we service.
Yeah. And I want to mention this again. That blew me away. I think our trip to Brisbane, not only did we sauna together half naked, not only did we spend some intimate moments, but the thing that stood out for me the most, and where I learned a lot about you, is you picked me up from the airport. You brought you're my client. Like it's supposed to work the other way. And what I really learned about you, and what really meant a lot to me, is that when you came and picked me up from the airport, you had a drink, you had some really delicious food, and I think it just said a lot about who you were as a person to me. And look, we're all people, right? Like at this point in my career, I'm only working with people that I like, because if it was just about the money, I can make more money doing other things. So for me, it's about the relationship. And as I told you this, I actually enjoy most about what I do being a part of your journey, being part of your life. And so, because I'm giving you that side of my life, the fact that you came out and actually picked me up from the airport, dropped me off, spent a lot of time with me, I was actually more blown away. I felt like I was like your client. I didn't set it the other way around. But the fact that you brought me food, showed me some great hospitality, you really didn't have to. You didn't know we were going to talk about it in another. You didn't think I was going to make a big deal about it, but it was a big deal. And I think when people do things naturally without thinking about it, I just said that. I just wanted to say that because on camera and get it all recorded, because it meant a lot to me, and it really, because I'm trying to be something very different, very unique, and therefore I want to work with people, a small group of clientele that also think and feel the same way I do, and have that care factor and that mutual respect. And I just want to say, thanks again, man. And I think I think the unreasonable hospitality book has definitely struck something, but that thing that it struck inside you is already there.
Yeah, we were already unreasonable. Like,
And
if
the
I look
client
back,
that you brought with the airplane makes me
that's
feel
right.
like-
Well, the way that I've been doing it for a long time is that, like, when someone books an appointment with DIAMONDPORT, even if they book a service appointment where we're not even a client yet, and they're just booking in to get potentially a resize, we still ask them, would they like complimentary parking? And we'll pay for their parking at Queen's Plaza, which is like a minute's walk from our building. It's the most premium place you can park in Brisbane CBD. We offer them a car park.
Yeah.
And our clients always, when they come see us, they get a complimentary car park. On pickup of the ring, drop off of the ring for a consult. That's something I implemented probably back in 2015, 2016, and I've kept all this time, and that's us being unreasonable.
Yeah.
Another thing that I created that no one else does, and I'm giving away a secret here, but I don't really care because no one else is going to do it. But when someone picks up the ring, we've always put in a postcard, well, it wasn't always a postcard, but now it is. It's a postcard with a QR code in it. And after he or she gives the ring to their partner, they also are encouraged to give the card to the partner, which has a QR code on it, and also a little note that says, congratulations on your engagement. We would love to meet you and teach you how to clean the ring and teach you how to keep it maintained and how to check it for damage. So we then have the person that received the ring to actually book in to come see us, and we get to meet them. We get to hear about their story and how they got engaged, and we get to really know them so they know us too. But also, they then know where to bring the ring if it's damaged. They know how to check it for damage. We even show them how to check if the stone's loose, which everyone's always afraid to talk about, but we know, we work in this industry. It happens. So we're better off teaching them how to clean their ring and how to check if the stone's damaged or the stone's loose. So if it does happen, they contact us straight away and we get it fixed. And it's a simple fix. It's literally push the claws down, give the ring a little polish, and it's out the door again.
Yeah.
And usually, because we've got our jewelers on site, we can do it on the spot. If it's just a simple tightening of the stone.
Yeah,
I mean,
brilliant.
that's how we're being unreasonable then. But now, since I've been reading the book and talking to Mike, and Mike's really on board with it, like we're just coming up with always ways in our business life, and it's also percolating within us to then implement in our personal life, is how to be absolutely unreasonable. And we had this client recently book in and was coming up from Sydney, and I mean, his friends actually said to him, there's plenty of good jewelers within 1 kilometre radius of Sydney CBD that you could go to. And he's like, yeah, but I just had a really good connection with Mike when he called up. And I think originally he called and I answered the phone, or it got transferred through to me. And he had a really good conversation with me where I booked in the virtual consult, and then he had a really good connection with Mike. And so he said, there's nowhere else I'm going. So he flew up. But when we knew he was flying up, we got his flight number. So we were tracking his flight, making sure it left on time, which it didn't. It left late. And then we were reaching out to him and saying, making sure that he got on the next flight, which he did. And then when he arrived, Mike went and picked him up. He went and took him cold drinks from the fridge we had pre-prepared, took him kombucha and a sparkling water because we didn't know what he'd want to have. And drove him in for the appointment. And we had a dinner booking booked for after the appointment. Because, he didn't know how long it was going to take. So he had a return flight at 7 or 7:30. So we thought, no, we're going to take him out for dinner and make sure we feed him. So we booked a nice little Thai restaurant it's an upstairs restaurant. So it's not something that you'd usually walk past on the street. So we thought that was kind of cool because it was aligned with us. We had a nice dinner, and then, mate, it was time to go, and we put him in a Premier, because me and Mike both had to get home to our children. So we put him in a Premier Uber. So we got him in a Tesla and dropped him out to the airport, and mate, he's back. And imagine when he gives the ring eventually and they talk about their story about how he sourced the ring. That's a story he's got to have to tell. And we went out with him. We had a great time. We learned a lot about him. He's a runner. He does running events. And I mean, he has a great story, and we really related. And we really built a connection through that, just through being unreasonable. And I know a lot of people might get bookings from other states, and they'll just say, oh yeah, they'll see you at 4 o'clock at the appointment. And, you just hope to God that client is able to find their way in a different city to your store. When we weren't taking chances with that.
Brilliant, man. I love it. And a lot of people talk about, going the extra mile for their customers and their clients, and they're like, but you've actually done it. And I think you have a tremendous story, and you're actually doing it as we speak. My biggest goal for you this year is for people to get an eye into what is possible and what they're going to experience with you, because you've got an amazing reviews once someone's dealt with you, or once someone's built a relationship with Mike. So you know where I'm coming from. You know that I'm big on getting the brand, getting who you are out there. And because I've bought into it, I believe in it. I even recommended that you get off and build a machine around it, a media machine, which you've done. Credit to you, which you know
Currently doing.
So I think we just have an amazing story to tell. Your company has an amazing story to tell. I'm very privileged to be a part of it. But I think that would be one of the biggest goals in how we deliver that, to like film how we do things more in terms of the process and the hospitality and the whole thing. So,
well, my goal is for this year, like, you know, ever since I met you, you were telling me we had to become a media company, media machine. And, you know, I resisted that for a long time because I had other things I was focusing on last year. But we had some time apart this year. We didn't work together for the first 2 months of this year because I just needed some mental space and some clarity. I needed to get some clarity. But man, when we came back,
it's been a different
together
Ash.
in March, I was different Ash, different person, but also like, it's like everything you'd told me had resonated with me and percolated in that 2 months of silence. And man, I've just gone all in, and I'm creating a media company, and I believe in what you're telling me, and I fully believe that, and I'm implementing. I've hired a videographer, I've hired a content creator, I'm going to hire them an assistant, and we're going to create a little media company, and we're going to document, and we're going to have stories. So we're going to be able to tell the story of what it's like to deal with us, what we create, how we create it, and we're going to deliver that over the next 12 months. And I think that's going to then take us to the next level of growth.
Yeah. And on my last point, and as we're talking about with Parasha, about the storytelling and the convenience and the experience. And once we nail those three in the content, in the theme of what we do, we're gonna build this business. We're gonna reach the goals that you want to reach. That I promise you. I'm definitely on board. And I just want to say thanks so much, man.
Thanks for having me, man.
I know I'm a crappy host. Hopefully, hasn't bothered too many people, but you've got a great story, man, and I look forward to sharing that journey with you.
I'm looking forward to working together and have another 12 months. I don't believe there's a time when we won't work together, because I can just see it going forwards and growing and blossoming in all different ways.
You know, sitting in the sauna and the cold plunge and being naked, half naked, not completely naked, but half naked with you was certainly... But
the cold plunge was a test, and you passed the test. You stayed in.
How long did you stay in the first time you went in?
I stayed in 30 seconds.
How long did I stay in the first
5
time?
minutes.
I think it was 6
I think it was actually 6.5. You're right. And it was my test. I threw you in. And you did it. And to me, we're lifelong buddies on that.
I did it for you, man.
Yeah, bro.
And we're going to push through those barriers. We're going to keep pushing. And I just can't wait to see where we'll be.
Man, the future is going to be always growing. And man, thanks for having me on this podcast today. It's my first one. And I look forward to doing many more.
Ashley from DIAMONDPORT. If you're in Brisbane or you were willing to fly up, you want a piece of jewellery, I know I'm his client, I'm a little bit biased, but literally go and read the reviews, look at the stories he's telling, look at the quality of the product. Surely and actually you can use coupon #AndrewPodcast, which I just made up now. So we may or may not use that. And you get a 5% discount.
No discounts.
No discount. Damn. There's no need to have a discount because their product's amazing. Ash, thank you so much.
Yeah, man. You always get more than you pay for with DIAMONDPORT.
Amen. The best episode 20 we could ever do. Yeah, boy!
So was that good or what? That was so good.